Welcome back, everybody, to Auto Hour. My name's Cameron.
I'm Chris.
And we're going to give you another, hopefully, entertaining podcast.
Episode 3, Memorial Day. You're going to see this the day after, but happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. Hope you're enjoying the day. Hopefully you have it off. You can spend it with the family.
Or just relax at home. I feel like that's what a lot of people do.
Is that
nowadays.
what a lot of people do?
Oh, yeah. People are like, oh, Memorial Day. It's got a 3-day weekend.
All right. That sounds nice, too.
I mean, to my knowledge, even my veteran friends, military buddies, no one's like, we have to go out to breakfast today. It's Memorial Day. I mean, granted, respect the holiday, but it's more looked at as like a 3-day weekend.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, how was your weekend, though?
Weekend was pretty uneventful. Not a whole lot going on. Opposite the car world. A lot going on in the car world, which we'll get into towards the end. But not a whole lot going on for me. My parents flew into town yesterday, so we're going to do the tourists visit throughout the week, take them to the aquarium, do the typical fun stuff that you do when people visit you from out of town. So
that's always a lot of fun.
Yep, I think we got a soccer game on Wednesday, Sloan's birthday on Wednesday, so a lot of stuff planned for the week, but weekend-wise, pretty low-key. How about you?
Not much. Just kind of chilling at home. Got a couple clients in the works, like we were talking about off camera over the weekend. A couple people looking for cars. Inventory-wise, things are starting to spark up, but at the same time, they don't seem to be. You know, it's more of like they're coming up, but they're coming up in a sense of inventories there with limited options.
Yeah, so that's really the topic we want to discuss today is inventory, constraints on certain inventory, and how you can handle that when you go to a dealership or interact with somebody that you're trying to buy a car from. We make a habit of going around to see people that we work with in the industry on a weekly basis, and it was a nice eye-opener for us, I think, on Friday when we made a few stops at some dealerships that we interact with on a consistent basis, and they were telling us that they were still hurting for inventory, which was surprising to me for a bit because it definitely felt like before we left the dealership side of things that things were getting back to some bit of normalcy, but there are definitely still some manufacturers out there that are hurting for inventory. And that's still in part due to the semiconductor, the chip shortage. Manufacturers are working through that, but I read an interesting article that pretty much all the chips that are produced for production vehicles for the 2023 year that we will see in retail have been produced, and experts expect 2 million less vehicles to be sold this year than an average year from the past few years, COVID aside. That was kind of the anomaly of the last few years. But before that, we're expecting about 2 million less vehicles to be sold this year, still because of chip shortage and inventory shortage. And manufacturers have come up with some, creative ways to get around that. A few of them have taken some of the components out of the vehicle so that they can still produce what is, in their eyes, a fully functioning vehicle. Some have removed, power seat adjustments in cars that's standard, heated seats where that's standard. There's a lot of savings that can be done on the chip side of things with, a few electronics out of the car.
Yeah, but to touch on that topic, shortage of cars, right? Going back to the COVID pandemic, we were supposed to go lockdown 2 weeks, turned into a month. Next thing you know, it's been a couple of years. Things are back to normal. I want to say the World War breakout kind of is what put COVID underground. I mean, if you think about it, when Russia did the horrible thing they're doing now, when that all broke out in the beginning, media didn't really cover the whole COVID pandemic. And that's when it kind of started to die down, which was a weird way. If no one really noticed that pandemic was just like, oh, wait a minute. Let's take that, throw it behind us. We got new problems now. Like, it just disappeared.
Yeah,
okay.
It definitely became, something that was on the back burner
if
for
it
the
was,
media.
It started as such a huge deal, and it was just thrown behind us. But that's a whole nother topic. The thing is during that COVID pandemic, during that 3-year period, I want to say it was roughly around then, it was everybody broken record. Inventory, people were running out buying. Remember the toilet paper crisis? Oh, that was golden.
Yeah, and I don't even think that was one of the symptoms of COVID, but that's also a separate topic.
There must have been a great new restaurant in town everywhere. No, but I don't know. It's a broken record. I feel like as working in the industry during that time, through that period, we're out of cars. You need to order a car. Oh, you came in for your car. I understand what you want, but you have to be open to options. It's such a broken record that it's getting to a point where people are kind of annoyed with it. And I think realistically, finding a client that wants to purchase or that's in the market, if you just can say, yeah. I mean, for example, the client I'm dealing with, a close buddy of mine, mom's looking for a car. He texted me, like I told you, oh, she wants XYZ and these 10 options or whatever it was. I immediately called one of my guys down near LA. I think in 30 seconds I texted him back, found your car, one in 250 miles. He was like, you found it quicker than the dealership did. Yeah, we're connected like that. But it's just crazy that, and I kind of felt the happiness through his voice, and we're working on getting the car. Granted, we found the car, but now we got to deal with the dealerships that want the weird things for them. I have a dealership in a couple places, and one of them told me, hey, they're an hour and a half away from me. I'll get the car for you. I know the dealership well. I can get the car. I'm like, great. Okay, let's move forward. Let's get you a deal. Well, I want a markup. Okay. Well, they don't want to pay markup.
Right.
Well, I want a markup. I don't want to do all this work for a small deal. I go, is that all you're doing the work for? Or you wake up in the morning and you go, how can I make the most amount of money from a human being that is just like me? Because I think if anyone in this room or anyone in this building, anyone on this block, if you're like, look, you want a car, I have the car, and the dude over to the next city has the car too. 10-minute drive. Oh, okay, great. Exact same car, down to the odometer. You got to pay $5,000 more for mine. They'll be like, you said the guy is in the next city, right? Do you have his address? So if you can show consumers in this, I think right now the biggest thing for consumers in this market, right, is price. Price is always going to be a big thing. Why doesn't everyone own a yacht? Well, they're expensive to own. But people are kind of coming back on their strict budgets. I feel like COVID helped with that. I don't know if it's helping in a good or bad way, right? People opened up on their budgets. But I think another big thing is that if you can just say, hey, look, everything you told me that you want, done.
Yeah, so to touch on a few points, I think the one is, as an industry, we got very greedy with the ability, and maybe greedy is too harsh a word, but I think they got too complacent with being in that position of power to say, this is all that's out there. We're telling you that. The news is telling you that. Your friends are telling you that there's no cars and you got to buy whatever you can. And people really didn't have a choice, so that's what they were doing. They were like, great, this dealership happened to have a car. It wasn't the color I wanted. It didn't have the options, but I had to buy a car. And they bought it. And we went through that for 2.5, 3 years of being able to say to customers, like, this is literally all that's available. You're either going to buy this one or we can't get a car for you. And that was a unique position for the car industry because that's never really been the case. Now, not every dealership out there will trade and find you the car they want. They're always going to try to push you to something in stock. But
yeah, that's a big one too.
Yeah, selling from stock.
I don't think a lot of people know that either.
No, you definitely want to sell the inventory you have. It's inventory that the dealership has worked, to secure. They've purchased. It's on the books. It's something they want to move. And for them, sometimes trying to find a car somewhere else, it requires more work, or it doesn't necessarily work out in that dealership's favor to do that, depending on where the car is at, what you've got to give up to get the car, if it's even available. There are a lot of parameters that come into play. But I think the industry got so complacent with being able to tell consumers, you can either buy this one or you're not going to buy a car. And that was a true fact that they just rode that wave as long as they could. And now that inventory for most manufacturers is coming back, they're still trying to say, the same message of, well, inventory short, there's not much out there, this is what you can get. Some of them are missing options, which some of those are true. But when it's not, it's more, them being okay with saying, hey, well, we got this car. It's close to what you want. We don't really want to go get another one because it's not really advantageous to us. So you can either take this one or move on. And I think it also made dealerships okay with the possibility that customers weren't going to buy from you because we were getting premiums at the time. You were getting markups, which have started to fade away on some cars as well, but they still exist in the marketplace depending upon what you're trying to buy. For the manufacturers out there that really don't have inventory, we know, Land Rover, Range Rover, yep. That's a really, really tough one right now. There's not a lot of cars and there's not a lot coming for them. They are way behind on being able to pick up that process on manufacturing and catch up on the slack. But for the industry, for the manufacturers that are out there and aren't compromising components anymore and are producing full functioning vehicles, there's plenty of cars out there and you can shop around. And I think where we come in is, we have the ability to help a customer through that process without them having to research or wonder if what the dealership is telling them is true, or if they find the car they want, the dealership's just not willing to help them because it does require those extra logistics, then we can handle it. Because for us to reach out to 50 dealerships of that same manufacturer within a day is no issue. But for a dealership to then text and call, sales managers or inventory specialists at other dealerships is time consuming. They don't necessarily want to do it every single deal. So if you find yourself in that position where you found the model you want, what options you want, and you just can't find it at your local dealer, reach out to us because there's a really good chance that we could find it for you in a very short period of time. There obviously are some specialty cars out there that are still tough to get.
That was an amazing shameless plug that was just somehow worked right into that.
A shameless plug.
Beautiful sentence. No, but it's true. If there's something that you feel like a dealership can't do, we are here. But just to touch on that, it's just working in the industry the last year and a half. It was weird, have a client, they're ready to buy, they're on board, I can get a down payment from them. No, we're not going to trade for that car. Or, hey, I have a guy right here, sitting at my desk, he's ready to go, he wants to do it all, doesn't want to pay $15,000 over.
Yep.
And they would be like, nope, someone will. And then a month goes by, no one pays $15,000 over, and we end up selling the car for less than what my client offered a month ago. Granted, I'm not saying, my client offered more, we could rip them off. I'm just saying that they'll sell it under MSRP, or a client or someone else's client would just be like, fine, you know what? I'm okay paying $2,000 over. I just want the damn car. Give me the car.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cars out there that are special models, right? You have TRD Pros, Turbos, AMGs, AMG 63s to be exact.
Yep.
The S models. Limited makes like that are the ones that aren't being produced. No one really has them. Chips are starting to come back into the market slowly, but I also feel like a lot of the inventory that's flooding back in, it's not like, hey, we're making cars again. It's more of, hey, we're making cars that are kind of stripped, that don't exactly have a lot of variation. That if you've purchased a car between 2021 and 2023, 80% of the cars on the road are probably spec'd out exactly how yours is, including color, right? White exterior, black interior, gray exterior, black interior. I mean, I got it all the time from clients. I mean, we had that one client when we were at Mercedes. She called in. I took the call. Hey, welcome to the dealership. And she goes, I saw a car that you guys had parked out front. I go, okay, which one? She's like, it was a really pretty gold color. I never come to your dealership because your dealership never has colors. And I was like, well, we have one right now. Why don't you come on in? And she liked the car, but unfortunately, manager at the time did not want to move on the markup.
I think that was a GLE 53 regular body, right?
That was a GLE 53 regular
Mojave
body.
Silver. That was a nice car.
Now, she didn't want to, the manager didn't want to come down on the markup, so she didn't want to come up on the price. And I told her, look, I would love to give this to you at MSRP. I can't. You could go try elsewhere. I don't know if you'll have much luck. So she tried elsewhere. She wasn't able to find luck. So she ended up going with a smaller size SUV from Mercedes that, once again, we could not obtain or find. So she ended up buying a certified pre-owned one down 2 hours south. But granted, she didn't come buy a car for me. We still talk like every 2 weeks. Nice. Great person, great soul. She asked me a lot of car questions about her car, about her friends. So, you know, that relationship's still there. That's what we care about in the industry, is the relationship, the contact, everything, how it's made, not just the how deep does your wallet go? What can I benefit from?
Yeah, the buying process right now for a car for consumers is definitely difficult. You know, we experience it on customers' behalfs week in, week out when we're doing, you know, locates for cars or trying to help them secure a price that fits what the market supports right now. And I just went through that on an X3 we delivered last weekend. And, you know, I had 4 or 5 dealers in the Bay Area that had a vehicle that fit the parameters of what we were looking for. And the one that I was able to secure is a 2023 X3, you checked all the boxes. And for us, you know, in our negotiation, we tell the dealership, you know, what the scenario is, here's what we can do, and it either works or it doesn't. And out of the 5 dealerships that had the car, there was one that took that message seriously from the get-go, and they're the ones that actually got the sale. So they discounted the car, fair amount. They were fair on the trade. They, you know, provided a sight unseen number, which not every dealership will do, but for us as part of the process, we took detailed pictures of the trade. We know what a dealer is going to ask about the car. We collect that information so that the customer doesn't have to worry about, you know, back and forth and sending pics and doing all this stuff. And the numbers were completely agreeable, exactly what we asked for right from the get-go. Figured out how to get it delivered to them. They offered to deliver it to the customer, but they happened to be in the area at the time, so they went and picked it up. And it worked out really well. But I still have those other 4 dealerships emailing me and texting me on a consistent basis saying, hey, we have the car still. What can we do? And there's only so many times I can say, we already bought a car. We tried to make it work, but you guys didn't want to work with us, and you still have the car that you could have sold 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that mindset for me, I think, is what began to be a struggle at the end was, you know, you got a deal there in front of you. Get what you can out of it, move on, create a great relationship with a customer that'll last, and on to the next one. And on the specialty stuff, I get that it's a little harder, like the G-Wagons and the Maybachs and some of these specialty cars. But even still, like we had a Maybach SUV before we left, and we were asking 60, 70 grand over, I think, for that thing. And it was the first one we had gotten since they released them. The car's been out for a year and a half, 2 years. First one we actually got from the factory for inventory. We asked the markup, but the market's died back down on it. And I think we had an offer the first week. It was like 20 or 25 grand over, and the decision was made to pass on that. And I found out about 2 weeks after we left, they sold it for MSRP. Yeah. And that goes to your point of take what you have at the time and move on. Like, I understand you're not going to sell a G-Wagon for MSRP right now. Nobody's doing that. I get that. And that's not what I'm saying dealerships need to start doing. But there needs to be, I think, a point where it's, you know, this realization. And some just, they sell so much volume that it doesn't even matter to them. Doesn't matter if you go buy somewhere else. It doesn't matter if you're not willing to pay the money. They'll get somebody who will. But there's plenty of dealerships out there that are trying to shift to a more agreeable atmosphere. And those are the ones we make note of. The ones that we interact with, like that BMW dealership that I did a deal with, fantastic. The next time I get somebody looking for a BMW, I actually have someone looking for a 5 Series right now. They're the ones that I'm going to go to first, because it's easy to establish a relationship and say, hey, this is what I have. It works for me. It works for you. Let's continue to do it.
On that BMW topic, I will not name names or point out specific dealers, but in our process of getting the X3 for the clients a couple weeks ago, I just can't help to remember that one dealer that we try to operate with, and every salesman we had an interaction with, it was almost like they just didn't want to talk to us, didn't want to be there, didn't know anything about the cars, didn't care.
Yeah, there's definitely still a lack of knowledge or willing to work with, and part of that's due to the COVID mindset that the industry created, where we were all used to just telling people we had the position of power as a dealership, and it was either we have the car and you can pay for it, or there's the door over there, and that's a harsh way to put it. But the reality is that's what it was, because the people that were coming off lease in the middle of COVID and didn't have a choice but to get a car, they were buying a car from somebody, and everyone was getting all the money for them. So still shifting slower, I think, than a lot of people in the industry expected. Still manufacturers having shortages of inventory. But again, if you guys are unsure of what you're being told, if you think you're not getting the whole truth, you want to pick our brains about the process or how we can help you navigate through that, just shoot us a DM. We're always here to help. This is a business for us, but it's also a way to help educate people in our community that we live in and interact with on a consistent basis, help them through the process. Whether you're using us or not, it's still, I'm still here for support and sharing information. I think that's more powerful than just a transaction.
I encourage everyone that listens, everyone that knows us, viewers living in the state or living out of the state, wherever you might be, we encourage everyone to come to us to ask questions. Now, granted, we might not have the answer for your question. We don't know everything. We're human. No one knows everything. If they say they do, run. But we want to be able to take care of anyone and anyone we can, whenever we can, wherever we are. And perfectly, like you said, I don't care if you use us or not. At the end of the day, yes, I want to earn your business. I want you to be a client of mine for as long as I'm here. I don't want you to ever have to go anywhere else. If you're ever in the automotive industry for customization, buying, selling, like literally whatever it is, I want you to be able to open up your phone, pull up my number, hit send, call it, whatever it is. I answer and it gets taken care of, or vice versa for any of us here, any of our staff here. We want to take care of you guys. I think the world has shifted since, I don't know, the early 2000s. You used to be able to walk into grocery stores. Everyone was happy, smiling. Now I feel like there's a tension no matter where you are, where you go, who you're with. The world has shifted to be more of like this hostile environment.
That's because we're all afraid when we get to checkout, they're going to flip the tablet around on us, and that's a 20% tip minimum.
That's great, dude.
It's funny, but it's true.
I'm bringing an iPad in here, so every client transaction we have in person, which aren't too many because a lot of our clients are kind of farther away or they're just at home, and we deal with emails and over the internet inquiries. I want to bring an iPad in here that just has a software on it that just starts at like a 45% tip.
Yeah, I'm not going to support that. We're not going to do that for everyone out there. That's not real.
And whenever you try to click the...
we will not be doing that.
They need to do it where when you click like none or zero, like it just doesn't register. So you're sitting there and you're like...
Actually, no. It should play like an obnoxious sound, like... wah, wah.
Well, if it didn't register, you would have to be like, hey, And as a cashier, you can be behind it like, did you click the button? Well, it's not going through. Oh, you're hitting none.
But see, you don't even need that because I feel like half the time they flip it over on you. It's right there, and they're like, "Oh, let's see what they
have."
And then they've started reversing the percentages. Like we're used to the low one being on the left. Now it's like the 25% over on the left, and it goes the other way.
No, you have the two people, right? You got the people that flip the iPad around, and they just stare at you. Whenever you're ready, would you like a receipt with that? And you're like, oh. Yeah, and you know, they can't really see the screen because they're just looking straight.
They know where you're pressing.
But they see where your finger's going. No. 25%'s over to the left, not the right. But it gets to the point, too, where then you have the other people that flip around the iPad, and they just get up and they walk away, and you're like, where are you going? And you just see them aimlessly doing tasks, like behind.
Yeah, I actually prefer that.
Really?
I don't like the pressure.
I've gotten to the point where I stare right back in their eye, and I go, none.
That's hard.
I did that with a buddy of mine the other day. It's fun. I mean, if you don't, I like to tip. I do. Yeah. And when I tip generously. But at the end of the day, with the service I got, you really just no effort or you're rude. I'm not tipping. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to let you guilt trip me into tipping an extra couple bucks.
You have such good willpower.
It's taken years.
All right. Well, we went down a pretty far tangent on that one. Sorry about that. But let's switch the conversation a little bit to current news. What do you have for us? Yeah,
so that was talking to you about this morning. The industry is in an interesting place, right? Pandemic came, crazy. Everyone started getting worried about the whole EV car switch. Then you had everyone going, the grid can't handle it. And the industry has gotten in such a weird shift in this little kind of minute hole where you're at the point where people are saying they're going to be all EV by 23. You have certain countries saying this needs to be done. You have CEOs coming out saying we're working on it. We have stuff in development. Like, it's happening, but it's not happening. And, Ferrari said that their plan is to never go EV. Combustion engines is where they'll stay, but that doesn't mean they won't go hybrid. And vice versa. Synthetic fuel is being found with Porsche. There's just so many weird kind of factors that are taking place. Granted, as a car enthusiast as I am, I love the beautiful sound of an engine rowing through gears. I just think can't beat it. But at the same time, I care about the world because I plan to have a family one day. So I'm on a weird scale myself. But the industry has kind of shifted. So with the industry over the weekend, Aston Martin, they released their DB11, right? Yeah,
I believe they're calling it the DB12.
The DB12. Sorry, I'm tired.
That's all right.
DB12, but the new one, I think it's the first one without a V12. It's a V8
for the DB, the high end. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, obviously, yeah. No,
still
no
a Mercedes-Benz V8.
Okay, so you have now dropped the powertrain from a V12, which, granted, I'm sure a lot of people purchased that car maybe primarily for the motor. I mean, that when you're getting into cars of that echelon, you're dealing with buyers for specific reasons, right? People don't just go buy a Bugatti. Well, granted, some people might buy a Bugatti just to be like, I have a Bugatti. But at the end of the day, there's an interest in that car for a specific reason, or I guess you could say a variety of reasons, but limiting to a few. While they released their car, you were talking about how shocked you were with the low torque spec numbers.
Yeah, for me, and out of that engine, what we've seen, Mercedes do with it, or other manufacturers with the similarly spec'd engine, their horsepower was impressive. I think 681 is what they posted for the new DB. But torque sub 600 surprised me. I think it was mid 550s, 560. That surprised me a little bit. It seems oddly low. But who knows? I mean, the 0 to 60 time was low threes is what they're projecting.
Mid threes, 3.5.
Yeah,
well, I saw 3.5, and I also saw 3.6.
Okay. Which, 10 years ago, that's pretty quick. But with what's out there right now, that's medium.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. 10 years ago, you had a car in the threes. You're talking supercar almost.
Yeah, I will say this. I absolutely love Aston Martin. I've always loved the styling of the vehicles, and I think what they came out with is a beautiful rendition for a new car. They did a fantastic job with the lines, the touches on the inside, the way pieces flow into others. I think it's a beautiful car, and we'll drop a link below in the description for you to check that out, and you can take a look at the pictures yourself. The big one for me, which I've talked about, maybe not on the podcast, but with you in the past, is the fact that Aston Martin was using Mercedes-Benz tech for the longest time. A few years back, they came out and said, we just don't have the means or want to spend R&D to create our own tech to put in these vehicles. So they had brokered a deal with Mercedes to take previous gen tech. They were behind the current Mercedes, but still pretty good for the industry for what's available out there. But with the new announcement of the new vehicle, they finally said, we're going to do our own stuff. They did ditch the Mercedes-Benz tech. So I applaud them for that. They are switching that tune, which is going to be nice to see. It definitely dressed up the inside a little bit. They lost the arcing touchpad that was in the center console, which was always kind of an eyesore, and nobody really knew what to do with it or just kept bumping it with their hands, swiping through the screen. But vehicle looks fantastic. The green that they announced it in, that green paint job, is beautiful. Always love an Aston Martin in a nice shade of green. Yeah. Especially with a saddle interior. I think that's what they did as well for the release picture. So
favorite color combo right there.
Beautiful front end. I think the design of it is absolutely awesome. Going to a V8, while it has its drawbacks, I think it'll be fantastic for handling performance. While it's 600 and some 681 horsepower, that is still plenty of horsepower to get you around. So that was exciting news in less exciting news or concerning news in the UK over the weekend, an AMG One that was on a truck burned down mid-transportation. Don't know if you saw that. I think you did. Yep. You mentioned you saw that. For those of you that don't know, the AMG One hypercar announced by Mercedes-Benz almost 6 years ago was the first time they mentioned it. It was bringing F1 technology to the road. It has been very, very hyped recently for good and bad reasons. Unfortunately, for those U.S. customers, it looks like that's going to be strictly a museum piece. They will not be road legal in the U.S.
Yeah.
So for those of you that were lucky enough to get spec'd one in the U.S., congratulations on having it in your collection. There's a few people out there very well known in the car community that are going to have them and display them. But that is going to be a track-only car. But it was surprising to see, and I think a lot of people are concerned that one just caught fire mid-transportation. Now, we don't know a lot of the details of it yet. We don't know what happened or what caused it, whether it was the car itself or something that happened to be on the truck. I think we'll see those details come out as more information's available. But it doesn't help the image of a car that's been announced for 5+ years and still really hasn't hit the marketplace. I guess there's been a few spotted in the wild outside of the U.S., but beautiful car. I've been excited about that one for a long time. Unfortunate to see one burn down because the chassis are very, very limited on that car.
Yeah, but what's interesting, too, is we have a lot more cars, I feel like, randomly sparking in flames with this new hybrid tech.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any correlation to that or if it's just...
No, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or anything exactly, and I'm not a press guy and have a bunch of evidence. I'm just saying there's been a lot of cars that have caught fire.
So I think there's maybe two parts to that. Is you got to think hybrids have been out. When did the first Prius come out? That was really the first hybrid, and that was, 15 years ago?
Sorry, I wouldn't be able to tell you the
I don't know if you were alive yet. So, anyways,
you probably attended the first event for the Prius.
My point would be hybrids have been around for a long, long time. They've been doing battery tech in cars for a long, long time. That was a good joke, but I think the reason we're seeing more and more of it isn't because of issues. It's because of the volume that now exists in the marketplace. It's similar to combustion engines. When they have a problem, it's, there's 100,000 Toyota Camrys on recall. And while that may sound like a lot, you'd probably need to look at how many they actually produced, and it's a small percentage of the population. So to say that there's, a lot of issues now with hybrids, it's going to happen inherently because there's more being produced and sold every single day.
No, granted, I'm not saying there's issues with hybrids. I'm just saying interesting how over the years more cars have sparked, but wasn't looking at every angle, right? You are correct. There is more cars in production. And that's why I guess you could, right there, getting test numbers is kind of hard. There can be so many factors involved. And then you have those non-factors that are kind of like out of the bunch, super rare to ever occur. But yeah, no, sucks. It was over a $2 million car. It's a car that I don't know if we'll see one during Monterey Car Week, to be honest with you. I truly, this year or even the next, I don't know if we'll see one.
Well, considering they're not road legal in the U.S., it may be difficult to see one on the road at a show.
Granted, at a show, though.
I actually believe that we will see one at a show this year, possibly AMG's stanchion over at Pebble Beach. They do a display every year. They've got a building they put up. There's a good chance that they put one in there.
You're right.
They didn't. I say that there's a good chance, but they haven't had one since announcing it. So we've gone through 5 years of Car Week and Mercedes-Benz having their latest and greatest. And by the way, every year they have a private room in there that's, blocked out from public view. You can't go in with your phone, and they will let you look at what's to come in the future. So I remember I went 4 or 5 years ago and got to see the Maybach SUV before it was even a thing. They still haven't done an AMG One with that. So
yeah, well, because was it last year or the year before? I know that the tent had all the Virgil Abloh cars.
Yeah, it was last year.
They had the Virgil Abloh S-Class. They had the concept car.
Yep.
That's like an off-roading beast. I don't think that'll ever get released, but it looks. If you haven't seen the Virgil Abloh Mercedes concept car, I don't know the name of it. Maybe Our guys can put it in the link down in the
Yeah, so that
description.
was they did an off-road as well as the S-Class.
Yeah,
Virtual
that
Abloh
off-road
collab.
is so sick.
Yeah, it
the
was
giant
really cool.
screens, how the bed, like the seats turn into beds.
It was like a lifted, stretched out S-Class coupe.
Yeah.
That was
It
decked
was-
out like a Maybach and off-road able. Like,
It had the Maybach logos. The tail lights were the Maybach logo. Like, it was pretty cool. Granted, if that car were to ever hit the road, I'm sure the price would be astronomical. Nothing I would buy, but it was a cool car.
Yeah,
Cool
but
to see.
There's somebody out there that will definitely buy that car at some point, whether it's just a museum piece or a show piece, or maybe they stick
100%.
it in the museum for Mercedes. Who knows? There's definitely a few cars, though, I'm excited to see if we see them on the road this year during Car Week.
Which ones?
Rimac probably at the top, and I know I touched on them.
I'm curious. Is it Rimac or Rimac?
It's Rimac.
Rimac?
Yeah, Rimac.
Rimac or Rimac?
Well, hold on. Let's go back real quick because you said Aston Martin. It's Aston Martin.
I know. I butcher that word every
That's
once
all right.
in a while.
I correct you every time on it.
Yeah. Nice.
But it is Rimac.
Rimac?
Yes.
Rimac.
No,
Maybe
it's Rimac.
both. Maybe I'll fact check you on that.
And for those of you that aren't sure, we'll put a link in the description for how to pronounce
screen
Rimac.
and just a pronunciation video. Yeah, if you pronounce stuff wrong, go with it. Have fun. But correct it in the future.
But I am excited to see how many Rimacs we do see on the road this year.
There was a couple during Car Week over the last couple of years. They've been around.
Yeah, see, I haven't personally seen one on the road, and I feel like every year I see something that I never expect to see in my lifetime, and there you're just sitting next to it in traffic or just driving around.
Yeah.
More excited, too, for some of the unveilings that we expect to see at the Quail. You know, every year Lamborghini does one. Bugatti seems to do a special edition. So interested to see what comes out this year. We always see Koenigsegg's and stuff around town, 918 Spiders.
Oh, sorry. They're just the hand flick. Like it was, you know.
It is.
Always see them.
It's tough being here every year because you do start to see these ungodly like these wild pieces every year, and you just get used to seeing them. Like, how many times have you been next to a Bugatti in traffic, and then there's 2 or 3 behind it, and it's just another day on the streets?
Typical day to work.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Just
Yeah,
typical drive to work.
It's a typical 10 days every August.
No, yeah. I mean, for example, like I'm forgetting the Fast and Furious movie, which one it was, where they drove. I want to say it was not the Lycan or not the Fenrir, but the Lycan Hypersport.
Oh yeah, I've seen a Lycan.
Dubai.
I've seen a Fenner. Fenner was the other one.
Or is it Fenrir?
No, it's Fenner.
Fenrir or Fenrir? Which one? Dude, this whole video is just going to be pronunciation videos for you guys.
We're helping Cameron today with pronunciation.
Thanks, guys. I need a speech therapist.
Yeah, the Lycan was cool, but that was very
think
like
about
just
it, like,
hey, let's create a car and say it's like $11 million just to say.
Yeah, I will say in person it looks sweet. It's wicked. I don't know if I would be like, that's...
I'd rather have 5 Bugattis.
Yeah, but no, I mean, seeing that video in Fast and the Furious, I had no idea when I first saw it. I was like, what the hell is that thing? And then I saw them in person, and I saw the Fenner and the Lycan next to each other. There's a red one, I want to say, and a white one. And I was like, oh, it's the same car. And the guy was like, no, those are different. I'm like,
They're very similar looking, but they are different.
yeah. So I've never looked into them because I'm not, like, astounded by them. I'm not like, that's the car.
And the one crazy car I think I'm hoping to see this year, have yet to see in person, is the Apollo IE.
Oh,
I
dude.
have not seen one of those in person. On paper and pictures,
He's not a big fan.
I'm not the craziest about it. I think it's overboard. For me, a similarly styled car that I would, much rather have, I'm going to go the Lambo route, would be a Veneno. I think that car is
Dude, the
epic.
Apollo is so wicked looking.
I think
it
it's overboard.
Sounds like a jet engine.
Well, I got to see one in person, so hopefully I get the chance
Hopefully
to
you don't
this
see
year.
it. When those things rip, oh my God, dude. Heaven.
You realize we're not talking about Porsche, right?
You started that sentence with a P. I thought it was going a different route. No, I mean, the Apollo IE is a gorgeous car. What I love about it, how different that rear end looks. Beautiful wing.
It's wild. There's so many angles going on that thing. It looks like a PPF nightmare.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously. It is a PPF nightmare. That is just what's what's that thing? You have kids. The Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. He's got those spray-on shoes. He needs some spray-on PPF, dude, with those cars.
Sure. That's a good idea. Let's get some spray-on PPF.
That's trademarked for anyone watching. I got that one down. I'm making a claim today. No, but yeah, so supercar world, automotive world, it's going in a weird direction. Like we were talking about this morning, and I don't know if it's true or how much of it's true, but the GT2 RS from Porsche is rumored. It's spied. But the spy photos look very identical to the spy photos of the GT3 RS that were released, how many months ago. So it's weird to see. A lot of people are saying, look, the image looks identical. There's very small, slight differentiations that you can't really tell with the camo going on. But I guess the people who were there taking photographs of the vehicle while it was testing were saying that it sounded like a 6 with a turbo, and it's rumored to be a mild hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, and I'm not the Porsche expert as you are, but I think for me, looking at it from a brand or collectability standpoint, I would be surprised to see the GT2 RS come back just because of what that car represents in the collectible automotive world. That is a unicorn of cars. You can get them, but they are drastically different than the price of a GT3 RS. You can buy 2 GT3 RSs right now for a GT2 RS.
Yeah, but you also got to keep in mind, companies don't like when their product skyrockets like that, because as GT2 RSs have come up in the market, you really don't see them being driven as much, other than when you're at a Cars and Coffee. Or
but that's part of what it is as an ownership experience for those people. It's not to continue to talk Mercedes, but we went through it with Mercedes. So middle of COVID, they make an announcement, all V8s done, not producing them anymore. We're out of it. G-Wagons, not producing them anymore. And the market went absolutely ballistic, and these people wanted them, and people were paying whatever they had to get them because they wanted to be the ones to have the last one.
Yeah, you can buy
and then all of a sudden,
MSRP.
Year and a half later, they're everywhere in the marketplace. They're not going to stop making them. They just announced the special edition the other day. The other one, and I think I mentioned this to you, is maybe a month and a half ago. Dodge went through, they're actually currently, I think, in litigation still, because they announced that their Durango Hellcat, they announced at a car show on a stage that they were only going to produce X amount. It would be the last one ever made. They're never going to make it again. And these people went out there in the marketplace and paid what they had to get them and went ballistic for them. Well, guess what? Dodge came back a year later and said, wow, we were blown away by the support that we got for this car. Guess what? We're going to make them again.
We're going to make more.
And you know what it did? It destroyed the market for those people that had paid what they did on the notion that they were getting the last of that vehicle. And I think for me, there are some similarities between a GT2 RS coming back to life and those situations, because GT2 RS marketplace right now, you're under the notion that those things aren't coming back ever again. That was a limited run for 2 or 3 years, and that 2 years.
I don't even know if it was 2 years. I mean, I love Porsche. I have to be honest. I don't know much about the 2RS.
Well, similar to the 911R too. If you were lucky enough to get a 911R, you were told this is the only time it's going to happen. There's 150, 175 of them, and that's it. And now if they brought that back, like Porsche presented that car to you as a collector, which a lot of manufacturers do with super specialty vehicles, they come to you and say, hey, we know you got 20 Ferraris sitting at home. We got a new one coming out. Want to know if you want one. That's a unique opportunity. And for the people that say, yes, I want to support, you're telling me these are the facts, and then you go and change it, I think it's tough. So I am the one, I'd like to be wrong. I'd love to see another GT2 RS, but I don't think I see them bringing that back.
To touch on that point, though, being, not to, brag or anything, being a Porsche Club of America member.
You're a member?
Yeah, I am a member. I got a little plastic ID card. That's right, plastic. It's like high-end, top-notch quality. No, PCA is great, but being in the Porsche community, seeing the Porsche community, I want to say that, yes, car collectors of all makes and models even the ones that are just like, why would you buy that? They're out there. They exist. And if you're a Porsche community person or you drive a Porsche, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you feel different, but I feel like in the Porsche world, the Porsche community, people want to drive the cars. People love the Porsche. People want to experience the cars. They want to put them on the road. They want them to be collectors, but they also want to drive them like a bat out of hell through a canyon.
For me, it goes along with, though, like, I don't think they should ever bring back the Carrera GT. The Carrera GT had its moment. They made them. They're highly collectible. Please don't try to remake that. The 918 Spider, same thing. Please don't try to redo an iteration. Create a new model.
Yeah. If you're going to bring it back, bring back something that's new, it's refreshed. Don't bring it back on some predecessor. That car is too old now. You can't just revamp it. And you're getting to the stage in the lifespan of the GT2s where if Porsche doesn't do anything soon, it will become that extremely rare collectible car, just rare car. The market will get flushed out of them.
Yeah.
But I think if they want to keep the GT2 RS name alive, if they want to keep it in the lineup of cars, kind of how like the GT4s are, right? They were released in 2016 and then in 2020 or 21. If you guys want to have those sporadic every 5 to 6 year releases, great. You know they have the community, the people will pay the money, the market's there. But if a car is that old, if you're creeping past 6, 7,
I think I can only support that if you say up front, you know, hey, we're going to produce this. It's limited. In 5 or 6 years, we may do another run of them.
Yeah, but
because here's the reality, and most people don't know how far out manufacturers are producing vehicles. So for Mercedes-Benz and R&D, the car that they are working on today at the factory that they're coming up with is 6 or 7 years down the road. That's how far ahead they are. So it's not that they don't know they're going to produce it. And that's probably where I have that problem with, you come out with a GT2 RS 6 years ago, whatever, and you're like, this is it, this is limited. And then all of a sudden, 2023, you're going, hey, guess what? We got a new GT2 RS coming out. I do not believe that you were not working on that car at that time.
Here's the thing, right? GT2 RS, 2016 release date. Nürburgring times. Crushed them.
Well, they crushed it with a modified GT2 RS.
Okay, calm down. Calm down.
We've had this battle.
All right. Don't even get me started.
Still a fantastic car. The non-modified did well too. It was just a little bit slower than the
2016.
Lambo.
All right. So AMG releases the AMG One.
Yep.
Track time finally gets beat.
Yep.
Right. Well, how much does that car? We talk about it. $2+ million.
Oh, but what about the GT Black Series?
I don't think it beat it.
It did.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad a car 5 years later can finally beat it. So now now Porsche's got to release something to let everybody know that they're going to go ahead and take.
I would say the win would probably go to the Rimac Nevera if it could make it one lap on a full charge, but I don't know that it can.
Really?
I don't know that it can. I don't know that they've said that publicly yet, or if it's run. I'm going to fact check myself on that and see if I can find a Nürburgring video of a Nevera. But
well, I mean, like, granted, yes, like there's supercars, hypercars that are going to go around a track faster, but the Nürburgring is the ultimate track for testing cars.
But
when it comes down to like your, I wouldn't say day-to-day cars, but your more realistic, in-reach, amazing performance cars, because I sport, super exotic, et cetera, I don't know. I really don't classify all the cars in the same regions, and some I make differently, but just in the broad spectrum of your average to above average performance cars, not including like a Bugatti and a Pagani. Those are works of art. Those are insane beasts. That totally different track pack. But I want to say that if you're comparing a Rimac the GT2 RS performs, dude, for not an expensive cost. It is a crazy car.
I mean, not expensive is relative. I think right now the current market on a used GT2 RS is $500,000-$600,000.
It's all your mindset, bro. Not expensive. I bet you there's viewers out there that understand. Not expensive. Truly, if you look at $1.
Yeah, relative to what some of the hypercars and supercars cost in the world, I got it. But it also isn't cheap.
It's a little below average.
You could start your own lift with 20 Toyota Camrys for the price of a GT2 RS.
Yeah, but like, when you wake up in the morning, are you going to be like, I own 20 Camrys? Or you're going to wake up, walk out into that one.
I don't know. I own 20 Camrys that are making money for me every day.
Live in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Versus a GT2 RS that's in my garage, and all of a sudden they're going to relaunch one, and I just lose $200,000 in value because now they're in the marketplace again.
Yeah, well, if you bought it to collect it, you're not daily driving it.
I still care about the investment.
No, I mean, it's a great car. I love the car. If they relaunch it, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. And the 963, the little Lego set we have over there from Porsche, the 963 LMHD, or I don't know, whatever the abbreviation is after it. It's a beautiful track car from Porsche. The GT2 RS is rumored to have that transmission system, that hybrid system. It's just interesting to see. Like, if they take that and put it in that car and they can achieve it, I wonder what the price will be on that car.
Yeah, and well, that would counteract your point of it being, in that range of attainable. If all of a sudden now they bring it out and it's more advanced than an LM car and it's $1 million plus.
Yeah. I don't think Porsche's ever going to be
I hope they don't
like
bring
that.
it back. And if they do, if they try to do a spinoff of that, please call it something else.
Wow, that hurt.
Why?
Oh, I hope they don't bring it back.
Yeah.
That was a little aggressive.
I hope they don't bring the GT2 RS
I hope
back.
the best for the brand.
GT2 RS that's like a unicorn to see on the road on a daily.
I know.
Yeah.
So if someone came to you and was like, there's one unicorn left, let's make more, you'd be like, no, let them go extinct.
I'm like, no, leave the unicorns alone. They exist already in the world. Leave them alone. We don't need more unicorns.
I don't know. I think I'd be down for a unicorn.
Yeah, but not a unicorn. You're basically like creating a new copy of a unicorn that already exists.
I'm not saying like
come up with something new.
I'm not saying like the deer in Pebble Beach. Oh, there's deer everywhere.
I don't need a GT2 RS again. We got that. They did that. It's done.
Whatever, dude.
Okay. If they'd been been doing it every year up to this point, cool. I don't care. Great. You produce 100 of them a year, awesome. Good for you guys. But don't go stagnant for this long and then all of a sudden, hey, we're bringing it back. The other one, more attainable than anything we've talked about, the rumored Corvette ZR1.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. One thing that always killed me at the dealership was when people would come in and say, I saw spy photos of the new blah, blah, blah coming out. And you'd be like, okay, well, that's not going to. I remember when they said the E-Coupe and the C-Coupe are going away and they had all these pictures out and they're like, oh, it's coming out next year. That was like 3 years ago. And the combo EC Coupe convertible, while it is happening, isn't happening this year. It may happen next year. But
combo EC Coupe?
Yeah, so they're getting rid of the E-Coupe and the C-Coupe, and E-Cab and C-Cab, and essentially morphing that into one model. So they're not producing two different coupes and convertibles.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
But yeah, like 3 years ago, people were like, I saw it online. I want to order one. Can I order one? I'm like, it's a spy photo online of somebody telling you what they think it is. And all of a sudden you think that's 100%.
I just want to order one right now, though. Can I order one?
No, it's not a real thing right now.
I'm going somewhere else.
Okay.
No, but the ZR1.
Maybe you can get the new GT2 RS when it comes out.
Already have it. I got 2 of them on allocation. So I'm going to pull up my phone here. When we were talking about it this morning, ZR1 is rumored, right? If they bring that to the market, just like the Stingray did, I think that'll start to turn some heads. I think that'll actually light the fire into some nice luxury performance manufacturers because those cars are performing for a low cost. But the ZR1 is supposed to be twin turboed, but apparently there's going to be a new top dog. Chevy will name its new top dog. Read this verbatim here. The Corvette, the Zora, Zora, after its most famous chief engineer, if I butcher this, I'm sorry, Zora Arkus Duntov. So apparently they are bringing a bigger car than the ZR1. Now the ZR1 is rumored. It is said to be spy photos. Oh, actually, just to scroll up here. Or this is a different article, but the spy photos of the ZR1 was behind a GT2 RS driving around. Just wanted to throw that out there. Was
the GT2 RS camoed as well, or was it actually?
I actually did look at that. No, it was just in a unicorn pink paint job. It was pretty cool. But no, the ZR1 has 800 horsepower, rumored, and the Zora is supposed to be around 1,100 horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know at this point. We've seen all the Demons and the Hellcats and all these insane horsepower cars coming out from GM. and they're fantastic if you're trying to, race on a prepped track with the, necessary tires to actually put the power to the road.
Or get the kids to soccer practice.
Yeah, well, you can get the kids to soccer practice, but how many times does a back end kick out on you because you got 1,000 horsepower and you don't know how to drive a car?
The kid will still smile, though.
If he makes it to soccer practice.
Let's not go down that route. Okay, he's making it to soccer practice.
I'm just saying, the numbers that they're throwing out on these everyday cars, they're sub $100,000 with the exception of the Corvette, but like the Demon, the Hellcat, they're $100,000.
Yeah, but right? I mean, if you want to get like a world record DoorDash number or time, I don't know.
Again, if you can get there, because those cars are so terrible at putting the power down to the road.
You've just hurt someone's feelings. I can feel it.
Oh, no. I didn't hurt anyone's feelings because those of you out there that have one of those understand what I'm talking about 100%. Because at some point you've been cruising along in third or fourth gear and you hit the gas a little too hard and the back end slid out and you puckered up a little bit. Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
That's happened to me a couple times.
I don't like all they keep trying to do for me, this is their marketing is let's figure out how to make it over 1,000 horsepower. So it sounds
America,
insane and everyone goes
it's
nuts
America.
for it.
It's just like bigger.
Yeah. Everyone's ditching V8s. They're like, well, let's put a diesel V10 and a Charger.
V8,
2,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Dude, in 10 years, they're going to be like, yeah, well, we took 3 LS motors and put them into one. Your car has 5,000 horsepower.
One per wheel.
Does it have traction? Absolutely not. That's why we didn't even put tires on it. It's got tank tread. Like, it's going to be something crazy.
I'm okay with them doing the stupid cars like that, but they should probably be track onlys. Ford did it a few years back. I don't know if you remember
the vibe a little bit.
You remember
Jeez.
the Cobra Jet? No. It was off a Mustang. So it was a current production Mustang body, but they produced it as you used to have a Roush, so don't tell me you're not a big Mustang guy.
I did, but the way the way I obtained the Roush, it was a really good deal at the time. And I was always, actually, this is also going to probably bother some people, I look at the Mustang as the farmer sports car. That horse bothers me. The only reason I was okay with the Roush is all the Mustang badges were removed, and it was the Roush R.
Yeah, with the badges removed, nobody could tell that was a Mustang.
I did actually have some people ask me what it is. Granted, they were like 85 years old.
My point being, I think they did it right on that one because that was a stupid performance car, but they said there's no way anyone should be driving this on the street, and they made it a track-only car, and it was limited production just like the other ones. We don't need a Durango Hellcat. We don't need...
So welcome back. If you guys notice an abrupt ending to the video, our camera died. We have some technical difficulties. We're still trying to figure out how to plug it in, how to charge it. But to end on that, once again, Q&As in the comments, DM them to us, text them to us, call us, stop by the office, whatever it is. Give us your Q&As. We want to start answering questions soon on the podcast. And we hate to end this abruptly again, but it is coming to an end because the camera is still low. We had to charge it up a little bit to get this outro for you guys. So once again, thank you for tuning into the Auto Hour. I'm Cameron.
I'm Chris. We'll see you next week.